Day 5, Capertee and Lithgow. Back into Lithgow. I know that means I'm heading backwards, which is probably unideal for the progression of the trip, but there's a spot that I wanted to go to there that is only open on weekends, and today is Saturday, so I'm headed back there now to go and see that. I should probably catch you up in my morning. When I woke up, the sun was just rising over the lake. I stood there for a while and just admired it, and then went off to make use of the facilities. I got to have my first shower of the trip, which was pretty good, and they were actually hot. I know people looking at it will probably say they're not the nicest, but honestly they were pretty good. It was warm, there was a bench for the clothes, and the water was nice. What can you ask for? So yeah, I'm back in Lithgow again. The spot that I actually want to go to opens at 10 or 10:30 or something, so I can't do that yet, but there's something else that looks good that I want to do while I'm here. So yeah, all I'll say about the actual spot I want to go to is it's something in Australia that might make you feel like you're in America. A little bit of history. So we'll see that in a bit. For now, let's explore the streets of Lithgow. Finally time, the place is open. I'm just gonna go get some fuel first and then we'll head there. So yeah, for some reason I can't say the name all of a sudden, but then the spot was the Lithgow Small Arms Museum. Feels like a tongue twister. Anyway, unfortunately they're recovering from a break-in, so they didn't actually have any of the guns on display, but there was still plenty of stuff to see. I was told that the break-in actually had something to do with organised crime involving the Hells Angels. They said that the AFP fortunately managed to recover 21 of the 27 stolen guns, which is at least something. They had exhibits of all the different things that they made there, the kinds of different shells and the guns and how they were made, but also other things like golf clubs and sewing machines and wrenches and the kinds of things you just wouldn't expect, which was pretty cool to see. One of the guys there was telling me about the methods of making the barrels from World War I compared to World War II. In World War I, each barrel took 4.5 hours to make, and it was made by hand. And at the end of the process, someone would look down it to see if it's straight, because they weren't always straight. And then if it wasn't straight, they'd just hit it with a hammer and look down it again to see if it was straight. See, that's the kind of thing that just sounds not true when you hear it, but I mean, I'd guess it is. He was as shocked as I was that it actually worked. But yeah, by World War II, it was machine hammered, not quite machine made, but machine hammered, and each one only took 3 minutes, and this time they all actually came out straight, and each gun was tested before being sent out as well. The factory had been standing and operating since 1910, so it's kind of been providing Australia's guns for all the wars since then. Well, not quite anymore, but the World War One, World War Two, Afghanistan, Vietnam. Yeah. I was even being told about the Boer War, which was 1901, so actually a lot of the guns at that time came from overseas, America, Europe, other people involved out in South Africa. There was also one of the old factories that you could go out and have a look at. It was the original unit used for the factory when the Small Arms Museum started up, but they quickly moved out of it because it was actually too small for their use. At the moment it's full of machinery that is used for the purposes that they had, but not the machinery that they used. These ones were imported from overseas, America, Europe, and also domestically, Australian as well. When I was in there, I met two guys who volunteer there, Mark and John, who are just incredibly knowledgeable about all of the stuff. Probably spent 2 hours just talking to them about everything. About the life of the workers, about the heat. Just think about the heat of those giant machines as they produce in your tiny stone building. Without air conditioning, obviously, back in those days. A couple of fans just to cool them down. They also told me about what the facility is used for now. So a lot of what used to be the Small Arms Factory is now taken over by a French company who still manufactures weaponry. They have something like 10 warehouses, but only 3 of them are in use. They also told me about why a lot of the windows were shattered in their building and the one next to it. Turns out it was Australian Special Forces training. Yeah, they used the warehouses to rappel up and down and use their simulated rounds and throw in smoke bombs and everything. He said he came into work one day and thought, oh, what kind of vandals have been here? And it was the police. But yeah, they also told me about the fires and the effect on the local surroundings, and when they were driving through, just watching the hills around them burn, like with nothing that they could do, just watering their houses and hoping that they don't lose everything, which is just insane. Oh, and the location for the facility. The reason it's in Lithgow is because back then the small arms factories in different countries were kind of a target for bombing, and a lot of the time the bombing was done from ships, so they would pull the ship up to the coast and lob their bombs towards the facility. But fortunately, being this far away from the coast, it wasn't possible at Lithgow, which meant that a ground assault was necessary, or aerial, but aeroplanes back then weren't as good either. But during the Second World War, they actually set up a prisoner of war camp right next door and 2 dummy towns as a diversion to try and deter foreign influence. I mean, just the history of it all is incredible. And to anyone who's interested, at the moment the Small Arms Factory Museum is trying to get heritage status so that they can prevent the land being acquired, and so that they can keep this history living on. So if you're interested in supporting them, doing what you can, I don't know, try reach out. Anyway, yeah, now I'm at Hassan's Wall Lookout, or I guess near Hassan's Wall Lookout at a rock looking over the valley. It's pretty incredible. That's the thing I've found. A lot of the time, a spot near the lookout is actually better than the lookout itself because it's just more relaxed. You know, it's not fenced off, there's not all the people, and you can just sit and do whatever you want. And it means I can talk because I'm scared of talking around other people. It is cripplingly cold and cripplingly windy up here, but it's worth it for the view. I mean, look at that. I don't even know what town I'm looking down on, though I imagine that road is the Great Western Highway. Quick stop off at Pearson's Lookout, the world's 2nd largest canyon. Larger than the Grand Canyon. Just not as deep. Another one.
In 200 meters, arrive at Elegam campground on the left.
Just arrived at the campsite and it's the first one that I have all to myself. Well, pretty much. Take a look. another night, another majestic spot. Got the car over here. Campfire over here as well. And all of this space all to myself. There's also a track that's just behind me that way, which is like a old tramway track or something, which I was hoping to do, but it's getting a bit dark already, so maybe I'll do it tomorrow morning. But otherwise, yeah, just chill out here for the night, enjoy the view, and then get a little bit of planning in. Tomorrow is the first night that I've booked a campsite. So all the campsites I've stayed in so far are free campsites that you don't have to book. But tomorrow I booked one, so that's something to look forward to. Hopefully it lives up to expectations. Because if this is free, then a paid campsite must be something special. Anyway, in case you're wondering what's for dinner today, it's not a Gordon Ramsay meal. It is a meatball sandwich. So, still pretty nice. I'm not complaining at all. I'll sort that out in a little while. Otherwise, yeah, I guess that's good night. Today claimed 69 photos, and as I said yesterday, Lithgow from the very beginning was a story of industry and its workers. And that was kind of reflected in everything that I saw today, of all the art that was plastered along the walls of the streets, and in pretty much every single photo I took. There's one that stood out for me, and it was an old poster of the strikes, and it had a cropped picture of a worker holding the flag saying, "United we stand, divided we fall." Or at least I assume that's what it says, because the poster itself just had "United" and then "divided we fall." Now that was quite funny to me, because I thought, well, united, we don't want them to know what happens when you're united, but divided we fall, you can know that at least, you'll fall. But somehow when I managed to take the photo, I cropped out even more, so all I got was united and divided. And that way, you don't even know what happens. There's probably something going on, but who knows what exactly it is. And so this one's for any moment of collective ignorance. Number 5, divided. Number 5 has an important story to tell, and that's why I made it today's photo. But it's not really my story yet. Maybe one day it will. In fact, I have no doubt that it will be at some point. And so, until that story has more of a personal meaning to me, I think unfortunately it's going to have to make the bottom of our list.